I heard the clear, distinct sound of a shotgun rack, and he was running out the front door with the shotgun in hand. Heard the bang, felt the shake of the truck. Person I grew up idolizing, wanted to be like, in that moment, had decided he wanted to try to take my life. If I could have a chance to raise my daughter's studies, I'll walk that straight line, ma'am. You'll never see me. Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right. And then state you have a witness.
Mr. Honor, State Police, AJ Blackburn.
All right. And sir, if you'll stand over there with the deputy.
You're back against the counter.
Thank you for coming down. All right. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right. You can lower your hand if you will state your name for the record.
Anthony Blackburn, Jr.
All right. State, you may proceed.
What do you recall from this incident as far as how that night began?
The night began with some phone calls back and forth between my father and my mother. She had reiterated several times that she did not want to have conversations with him.
Where were you when this conversation was occurring?
We were at my apartment, my residence.
Okay, and your mother was with you at that?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and continue.
Several phone calls were made back and forth. At one point, I ended up my mom had it on speakerphone, and I kind of hopped on and told him that he needed to knock it off. That we were all fed up with it.
Who was doing the calling? Was it your mom calling your dad, or your dad calling your mom?
He was calling my mom.
Yeah. How many times did you say he made the call?
Upwards of a dozen that day.
Okay. And then what happened after you got on the phone with him and told him what you did?
We got into an argument over the phone. Eventually, we hung up. But what happened was he proceeded to call my sister and pick a fight with her and my brother-in-law.
What happened after that?
At that point, my brother-in-law left his residence. He had taken my sister's keys with him so that she couldn't follow. I received a phone call from my sister letting me know that my brother-in-law was en route over there and that he was really upset. So I hopped in my truck to go try to play peacemaker. And
Where were you planning to go?
right where I went, right outside the house, across the street.
Was it your intent to cause any hostility that night?
Not at all.
Was it your intent to cause any violence that night? No. Were you intending to threaten your father that night?
No.
So what happened when you arrived at your father's place?
I was coming down the road. His house would have been on my left-hand side. I put over to the right hand across the street, parked pretty much directly in front of his driveway across the street. He exited his residence, and
When he exited, where were you?
when he exited, I was inside my driver's seat of my truck.
Okay, so you hadn't even gotten out of your truck. He's already coming. All right. What happened after he exited his residence?
He stopped at the front porch and began shouting that I needed to get out of there, essentially. At that point, I opened.
You want about that in a nice way?
Not at all.
All right. What happened after he said those things?
As he was yelling, I had begun to open my door, and I stepped out and kind of anchored my back to the side of my truck and had said something along the lines of, "You need to stop acting effing crazy."
What did your father do in response to you saying that?
At that point, he repeated the word crazy, put his index finger in the air, and said, "Wait right there." I kind of stood there in shock, but he had turned around at that point and re-entered the home.
What did you think was potentially going to happen at that point?
Honestly, at that point, I didn't think anything was going to happen. What happened was the last thing I would have thought.
What happened after he went back into the residence?
I could hear some things shuffling around in the house in a violent manner. And then I heard the clear, distinct sound of a shotgun rack. And at that point, I re-entered my vehicle and
Where did you hear that sound come
from inside the residence.
Sounds silly, but how did you know it was a shotgun?
I've done this my whole life, hunting outdoor stuff. I know that sound.
So you're familiar with Okay, so
Very much so.
after you heard that,
After I heard that sound, I jumped in the truck because I knew very well what that sound was, and I hammered down on the gas as hard as I could.
happened after.
As I was driving off, I remember taking a look back over my left shoulder, and he was running out the front door with the shotgun in hand. I saw him shoulder it up. I put my head down towards the center console, heard the bang, felt the shake of the truck, immediately was overtaken with the smell of gunpowder.
To your knowledge, where did the shotgun blast him?
It hit my driver's side back door.
How close was that from where you
18, 24 inches behind me, a little on the low side.
What did you do after you felt that?
I immediately started patting myself down, make sure I wasn't hit. That was the first thing. And then actually called my mother initially, and
How did you feel at that point?
I was in complete disbelief.
After that, you called your mother.
She asked me probably what all mothers ask, if I had called the police. I said no and hung up and did that immediately.
Where were you when you made the call to police?
I believe I was right around Nogalitos and Division Road intersection, give or take.
How far away is that from your father's residence?
A mile, less than a mile.
When you were there at his residence, did you ever leave the proximity of your home?
No.
In total, how long would you say you were there?
Felt like forever. 2 to 3 minutes probably, if we're being realistic. Maybe.
And how would you describe your father's behavior at that time?
He was enraged. He was very, very upset.
My last question is, how did it feel to have your father shoot that shotgun at you?
Probably the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life. Person I grew up idolizing, wanted to be like, in that moment had decided he wanted to try to take my life. It was still is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with to this day.
Mr. Smith, two questions.
Good morning. My name is Juan Carlos Ferrer. I represent your father. We've spoken a couple times on the phone in regards to this case. Correct? You are aware that your father's has a no contact order, so he hasn't been able to reach out to you after this mental health crisis that he had that day. Would it surprise you that he has?
Yeah. With this,
Yeah.
you could just switch to your, the color your public or.
Oh, and also if you all can step that way to the court reporter, and I can
Can you
hear.
hear me now? Yeah. Okay. Would it surprise you that Anthony? I've been representing him now for over a year, and yesterday he testified and showed his remorse of what he did. That's the last thing that he ever wanted to do was harm you. He just, for whatever reason, y'all's emotions were all very heightened. Is that a fair assessment?
Emotions were high there.
And you know that your father probably struggles with his emotional control. You've seen that as a child, I'm sure.
Yeah,
okay.
very much so.
But in all fairness, do you feel like your father has been a good father to you when you were little and he was teaching baseball and what he was proud of y'all? Did you all get that sense of him?
I think him as a father, it was always the two extremes. The good was always great, couldn't complain about it. The good was great, but when it was bad, it was bad.
So in fairness with that answer, right, it kind of shows the court that your father is either hot or he's cold, right? He has an inability to modulate his emotional impulses. Or if something gets him mad, he sparks up pretty quickly, correct? In this situation, he's made a mess of himself. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay. And by having an affair, and having your two sisters now, essentially, and not telling the family for so long and then springing it on to the family, that must have been like pulling a pin up a hand grenade, and I'm sure that devastated your mother, correct? And you guys are very protective of your mother, correct? You've got a younger brother, Brandon?
Yes,
Okay. And then you're having to deal with your pop, who does love you guys very much. Is that a fair assessment? But he's had a difficult time, controlling his emotions. He wants the family all to embrace the two new sisters because he wants that, but everybody else has their own feelings about it, correct? And he was, in his attempt to have his family united, he was going about it the wrong way by trying to force, you guys need to accept them. And is that a fair? Yes. Okay. And then things got superheated. He got booted out of the house, though, right? Rightfully so. And he's been living alone now. After 20, how many years married to your mom?
29, I think, at this point.
So that's a long time. So now he's an older guy alone because of his own doing. Okay. But he is alone. He struggles with modulating his emotional impulsivity, correct? And he's frustrated because the good part of him, right, just wants everybody to be together. That's ideally what he wanted, right? But you guys weren't ready, and you guys are hurt. And so ugly things were being said both ways, right? Mm-hmm. Mom can get somebody better, and all the ugly things that he said, I'm sure too. Mm-hmm. You show up, you know that your brother-in-law is on his way and he's pissed, mm-hmm. correct? So from your dad's standpoint, when he sees people coming over after having such a heated conversation, right? Because your mom put the call on speaker. Yeah. Your father, at least from his perspective, he doesn't know why people now are showing up. He's going, oh God, AJ's going to beat me up, or someone's going to beat me up. It wouldn't be far-fetched for him to think that, correct?
On that point, I would say he was aware. Okay. He at several points throughout the phone calls, he had welcomed us over there to sort things out, in a sense. Okay. He was very much so aware.
Okay. And so knowing how he is, where he cannot regulate his emotions, now he sees you there on his property, he's now freaking out. It's our standpoint that at that point, your father hasn't had any therapy ever in his life. And he's never navigated. How do you handle when you spring on a family that you love, that I've got an extra family that nobody knows how to navigate that, right? Especially somebody like your pop. Okay. He sees you there. And I know this. He loves you very much. He loves the whole family. And he is so ashamed at what he can't even believe that he's done what he did, but he did it. And he's here for that. And I just want to make sure that we have all the context for the judge in fairness. And he's got one foot in the prison already, and he knows this, and it terrifies him. In all fairness, Anthony, can you see that your father was at the brink in his life, the lowest point that he's probably ever been, and he just snapped? Is that a possibility in your mind from what you know of this man?
I do.
It's something that you told Rick, that when he went into the house and then you heard that, you were like, that's the last thing that you thought was going to even happen. Correct.
Correct.
Because he's never done something like this before.
He's gone off the wall in the past. He'd never done anything remotely on the playing field of this.
Yeah, and I believe so. If now Judge Boyd has a really difficult decision to make, because typically on a case like this, people get sent to prison, and she does it all the time. She's known for this, but she's trying to make a decision here, and that's why she asked you to come, and we're all thankful that you are here today, to give her a little bit more context. If she places him on probation, what would you like her to do?
If he is granted probation, I think he needs to remain in therapy. He needs to continue his anger management classes. There needs to be no contact orders in place for me and my family.
Your mother?
My mother,
Yes.
my brother, my older sister. At this point, none of us want to speak to him, and we'd like for it to remain that way. And just to ensure that it is on a one strike basis. I am fully okay if Judge Wood opts to do this, but I am very big on, if he does drop the ball, even something small one time, I think he needs to finish his term behind bars.
That's a fair answer. Let me ask you this one. This one's kind of more like a personal thing, because I've gotten to know this man. If he does all that, and he makes the changes, and he learns how to modulate himself, and he goes through therapy, is there any chance that the family will someday in the future possibly embrace him back? Not
I
to the position.
I can't speak for my family, but as far as for myself, what took place that night is irreversible, and I do not see myself having a relationship with him moving forward.
No further questions. Thank you.
Any further questions?
No further questions, Judge.
All right, thank you for coming down. All right, so I'm going to tell everybody this is what my issue is with this case, and this is why I'm glad you all were able to have the complainant to come in and talk, because I wanted to know what was going on that night. But my issue is we have this incident that we're here for today, where I'm sure, based upon his actions, the affair, having children, then, as you said, counsel, springing it on the family, and they're supposed to be accepting of these other people. So I'm sure it was heated arguments on both sides. I'm sure the telephone call was a heated phone call. And I understand that. But here's my issue. He goes there. The son is outside. Nobody's presented any information to the court that the son threatened him. I'm sure they had a heated conversation, and that is why, based upon the testimony that the son said, where your client was just one moment. But his son is driving away and is fired upon. Again, I understand that everything is heated. But then he goes to therapy, which was the evidence that was presented to the court. And I have the certificate. I've read it. Great. That means that he's addressing the issue. If that were all there was of the evidence, it would be an easy decision for me to make based upon the testimony that I've heard. But after he finishes with therapy and he gets a certificate, he puts a tracker on his ex's vehicle. That's an issue. And it seems that he's not letting go.
Could I address that?
Sure. And that's what I want you all to address. And I'm just telling you all what my issues are. And now I'll hear arguments from both sides, and you all can address that. And if anybody wants to call somebody else as a witness to address that, you can.
I'll just close. In my close, I'll address those issues. So, Judge, as you've become aware now, and with what's on the PSI, Anthony is a 56-year-old man. He's 2 years younger than me. He's a flawed man, like most of us. We all have details at different degrees.
Mm-hmm.
He's flawed in the sense of regulating his emotions. I think we feel after, talking with the family and getting to know Anthony a little bit more, it kind of stems from his childhood with his mother, not having a solid place for him to go. So he was moved and shuffled around. His sweet Uncle Joe that you met yesterday, he would try to step in a little bit. He has his own family and he was running his own air conditioning business. But when he could have Anthony over, and he would spend some weekends and a few weeks sometimes when he was a child, he would take him out and do the kind of fatherly things that he has. I've raised 4 boys, and I know how important a father is to boys. And if you're absent of that, it will cause some problems. Some guys stomach it up and put their bootstraps and become solid men, but not everybody.
But my question then would be, at what point, because I'm sure everyone has some trauma in their past,
Sure.
at what point do his actions become his own?
They're his actions, Judge. And I'm not throwing the typical defense. Oh, it's because he had a troubled child.
Oh, no.
I'm just trying to, a lot of times when I take we've been practicing together for a long time, right? And as criminal practitioners, we sometimes we have some evil people that we address, and you see them in court all the time. And sometimes we have good people that just do some crazy things that they would not do. And a lot of times we're trying to figure out, why did this good person get to this point to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not somebody who's got a history of this has been a surprise, right, to his family, to his son, to himself. And it's because he had a mental snap, because he doesn't have that foundation that a lot of us had by being raised by good family members and having a solid life and going to college and doing all that stuff. Not everybody has that life, right? And here's a guy who's been struggling himself, desperately wanting to have a family. He found it with Carrie. He's raising 2 boys. He's teaching them how to play baseball. He's one of those active fathers. There's a lot of fathers that have kids and they don't do nothing with them. He's active with them. He loves them. He's flawed now. He has an affair with some woman. She gets pregnant. She has 2 of his kids. He doesn't introduce that. That's a big flaw, but that's not what he's here for that. But this is all part of what's swimming around in his mind and in his heart. And he doesn't have the tools. This happens. The son, they're all mad, and they putting hands on each other on past things. He's already invited them. You want to do something? So this is already getting to the point of some possible violence. And then he's frustrated because he desperately wants his family to just accept the 2 girls, which is not a realistic thing, but in his childish kind of emotional way of thinking, I just want my family to be together because that's what he wants. So it comes from a good place, but how he is not able to regulate his emotions, he snapped. And he did something that he would have never done. If we would have thought that, oh, this is a self-defense case, this is not this is an imperfect self-defense case, and that's why we're pleading. He's taken responsibility. He knows that what he did was absolutely bonkers. I've seen him cry with snots coming out of his nose because of how deeply he feels that he's hurt his son. So now we're here, and this happens. And hats off to SAPD, Chief McManus, who was my captain when I was a police officer in DC. Chief McManus, they showed up to Anthony's house, and they were trying to make a decision with SWAT. Do we go in and grab this guy? And when Aunt Sarah came and they asked some questions, and then they looked at his background, they figured out, okay, this is not one of them guys that we need to go in there, kick the door down, and possibly shoot. He's not somebody who's like a gang member. This is a good guy who's had a snafu. And let's just wait and we'll pick him up a few days later. So hats off for them for doing that. They don't do that in every case, but they did it in this case. Because he was telling them on the police report, shoot me. He had snapped. He knew that he had done something that he couldn't even believe that he did. He didn't even know where it came from. So finally, he gets arrested. We put him through therapy, the first therapy that he's ever had in his life. And just because he's in therapy doesn't mean that he's cured. This is going to take a long time, but he's learning the tools. His family starts to see that, he's changing. He's not like impulsively getting mad whenever he's being like a normal person. He's figuring things out. He knows that he had to make a change. And if you've read in the PSI, when the probation officer asks him all these questions, it's the same thing that he said to them back then. He's saying it now. he knows that his wife Carrie is is like the key holder to possibly having the other sons accept him back, or not ever like they used to be. They're never going to be the same family again, but to at least not alienate him so much. And so he foolishly, without my knowledge, because this was just popped on me yesterday morning, that he put a thing on there so that he could maybe run into her and try to talk with her when, which is foolish. But he it's all with the reasoning that he's just trying to get his family back. I think that if you were to even give him a chance and you do it, you can customize this to actually maybe help him with his progression. He's progressing. Put strict no contact with Carrie too, even though she's not a complainant in this case. We're going to put it on Carrie, on Brandon, and on AJ. No contact, a zero tolerance. You even cough in the wrong direction, you are going to prison. Because right now he's building a relationship with his daughters, who he's just recontacted with in the last 3 years. Went to their quinces. He pays child support. He's got a good job. He's living alone and he's figuring his life out. I think that we sometimes, as criminal practitioners, we can help people achieve something, and it doesn't happen in every case, but it's really nice when we see people that we haven't seen that have been in the court system and they changed their life around, and it's nice to be a part of that. I think that we can have that happen in Anthony's case. His son is open to giving him a chance. He knows his father's never done anything like this. SAPD handled it the way that I think they should have, because they knew that he's not like an ongoing threat. I say, let's give him a chance. And that's our hope, that you can consider that. But whatever your decision is your decision, and we respect it.
Okay. And Mr. Blackburn, I want you to know, whenever you go to judges school, you know what they tell you? Don't say anything on the record. That's it. That's not me, right? And the reason why I say certain things is because it's happening mentally, and I want those issues to address. And I never want attorneys to leave without addressing an issue that I may have, to address my concerns. Because otherwise, it's sort of like when you have a jury trial and you do a closing argument to a jury, and you think, hey, this is what everybody should be concentrating on. And then when they come back with the verdict, you find out, no, the whole thing to them was about a blue shirt or something. So that's why I will always ask questions, because those are the things that I want addressed. So you're having an affair, that's not really going into the court's consideration. Oh, you should go to prison, or you should not go to prison. That's just something for me to consider about everything that was going on that night, like why tempers were the way they were. So I just wanted you to know that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I'm hearing everything and listening to everything and listening to everybody's arguments. Okay. And I'm internalizing everything that everyone is saying, because I'm trying to understand how we're at this point now with regards to the charges against you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am.
All right. If you want to say something, you're still under oath.
I upset my son and my other son not wanting to, and my wife, and I'm sure she's going to divorce me. And I said, they don't want nothing to do with me no more now. If I could have a chance to raise my daughters, at least, I'll walk that straight line, ma'am. You'll never see me. I'll do whatever you require me to do. I've built a good life working. I'm a hard worker, man. I really am. I've done stupid things.
But see, here's the thing. My major concern with you
Yes, ma'am.
is, well, one of the concerns is putting the tracker on the vehicle after therapy. And what I can tell you, many times when relatives will come in and testify, and I can see that your son loves you, right? I don't think anybody thinks he doesn't love you.
I'm tremendous.
And I always tell loved ones and relatives who come testify because they're always like, oh my gosh, did I say something wrong? Am I the reason this person is going to prison or not going to prison? And I would always tell them, no, you're just there to give information. So everyone is here to give information to me so I can make what I deem to be the best decision. And what I can tell you, what I'm grappling with you is, you know, that your wife or soon to be ex-wife that you're going through a divorce with, she doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears on that night, she didn't want anything to do with you. And if that would have been it, where she doesn't want anything to do with you, this happened, I hear all the evidence, and there's no tracker on her vehicle, then I would not be taking that into consideration as some of the evidence. But it appears there's issues with you with no contact. You understand?
I won't have any contact with him.
All right. And then do you have any questions of him?
No questions, but if I may have a 2-minute.
Yes, I'll hear your argument.
Your
I
Honor,
object to that.
Okay.
I understand and I appreciate the fact that it seems like the defendant has had a troubled life. And it's upsetting, but he's 56 years old. At some point, he needs to be responsible for his own actions. And I understand tempers were high that night, emotions were high that night. But to get to the point where he's going to fire a shotgun at his son, when all he could have done, step away, come back inside, or just called the police saying, I feel threatened by my son's presence here. I need help. Could have been a lot different. We wouldn't be here today. But to go forward with that shotgun blast and have it impact the vehicle where his son was at, 18 inches to 24 inches, like the son just said, if he was any closer, could have been a different story altogether. And then for him to enter a plea to this, go to therapy, which I appreciate, but despite that, trying to show you he's worthy of probation, after all that, he puts the tracker on the vehicle. Very concerning, very upset. Because of his actions that I think he's to be held accountable and responsible for, state does not feel that he is an appropriate candidate for deferred. We would ask, Your Honor, to deny his application for all the cap and sentence him to 10 years in prison.
Okay. All right. And how old are your daughters?
18 and the other one just turned 16 a couple of days ago.
All right. This is what, and mind you, I'm taking everything in consideration in my sentence. This is what the court is going to do. The court will find you guilty, sentence you to $1,500 fine, time and money will run concurrently. The court will sentence you to 3 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's an affirmative finding of family violence, an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. There's to be no contact with Anthony Blackburn Jr. And what is the wife's name? I'm sorry, who?
Carrie Blackburn.
All right. Is that Kerry?
I believe it's with a C.
See?
Carrie Blackburn, Barrie.
All right. And so there's to be no contact with Kerry Blackburn and Anthony Blackburn Jr.
Also, no contact with his brothers.
Well, the question is, does anyone know? And because the brother and sister, those are adults, right? Am I? All right. Are they asking for no contact? And what I can tell you, sir, is things may change. They may decide they want to have contact, but for now they're saying they don't want any contact. So I have to order no contact. And I'm going to order the therapeutic community, and I will put for mental health. The therapeutic community, I don't have any jurisdiction to force you in to have them place you in the program. But if you ask for it, they'll see in the judgment that I put therapeutic community.
Speaking with his sister and brother, his sister Stephanie Blackburn does want a no contact order. Brother does not. So we only asked that Your Honor enforce no contact order with Stephanie Blackburn as well.
All right, so it's Stephanie, and no contact with Stephanie Blackburn. And the other person is okay with having contact?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Brandon wants to have contact. All right. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question about that, you'll need to speak with an attorney. What I can tell you is I listened to all the evidence. That is why I didn't sentence you to the full 10 years, because I know there's other things that were going on. Counsel. Yeah.
Do nothing.
All right. All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. All right, and he'll be over there and they give victim impact.